quite a few optics that were growing in window size that they were designed during the time where folks were like, well, I need more window. I need more window. I need more window. And then you're looking at the sight picture and yeah, like half of that window is being taken up by a black steel sight body.
I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Colt, Guns and Gear, Tokarev, SnapSafe, Ruger, and Range Ready. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about optics and sights, and I don't want you guys to go away, please don't hang up. We're going to talk about maybe a little co-witnessing and answering some of those questions. It's going to be a little techie, but we have the right people here to talk to us. We've got Rachel and Sean from Night Fision. Welcome in, guys.
How you doing?
Night Fision.
Yeah.
It's gets like vision and fission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets fun sometimes because people will sometimes hear it and they're like, oh, like the nods. And we're like, no, it's the tritium. And they're like, I have questions. I don't know what that is. So, you know, it's a play on fission. So nuclear fission, which is a source of energy. And so part of the byproducts of what's created with nuclear fission is tritium because it's an isotope. I mean, you did warn everybody.
I know.
We were going to get a little nerdy.
We went there real quick. I'm sorry, everybody. Stick with us. Get some coffee.
Right off the
Red Bull.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, but the reality is it is a byproduct of that. And tritium is it's an isotope.
Don't try to make your own.
Yeah.
No, definitely don't do that.
Well, so, and to just be able to say on the other side of that coin is it's beta wave radiation. It's not the same stuff that like is part of, ordnance.
Do you guys get that question of is this radioactive?
Yeah.
Tritium glows, so is it radioactive?
Yeah.
I guess is the answer yes. But safely?
Yes.
Yeah, it is radioactive, but it's safe.
It's funny. We were doing something that I said, what's the half-life of tritium? Because you think of half-life as being very long, but like half-life, you think of hundreds or thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I had some old scopes that have tritium, and he's like, it kind of looks dim. And I was like, what's the half-life? It's 12.5 years. You lose half of the brightness.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I got those scopes probably 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah. And it's one of those situations where at some point, if you do have like a pistol or any product that has tritium in it for that length of time, there's an expectation that you're going to replace it. So, you know, if folks have like Gen 2 Glocks, you know, that they put sights on quite a while ago, you know, that's good. There is naturally going to be a time where that's going to be a sight that's going to get dimmer. They don't go black. They just get dim and they sit at that 50%. That's how that works. That's what they mean by half-life. Right. So, you know, it's no fault of anybody. That's just the natural, the natural sort of
does.
The ending of the glow. But no, it doesn't hurt you. It's beta wave radiation. It's actually something that's found naturally. You can find it in very high very high tiers of the atmosphere, very, very, very low portions of the ocean. It's in bananas. There's radiation in bananas. I mean, you get more out of your phone.
Banana sites.
Yes.
You guys got to work on this.
Potassium
that
sites.
Might be our next our next April Fools. But
April 1st, they're going to come out with some kind of banana site.
I'm always
They're yellow.
Potassium gas.
We have to think about it.
You know, people didn't know. I mean, you can Google it.
Yeah.
Bananas have radiation.
Yeah,
they do.
It is.
So we've converted that into our new sites. Yellow.
Yeah. We actually did release I think it was last year or maybe the year before, we did limited edition sites, actual like optics ready stealth blade height sights that had orange tritium vials in them. And we sort of did it as like it's Halloween orange, but we also did it as one of those moments where we genuinely wanted our customers to say like, you know, do you like this? Do you think that this is a better option? Because for folks that have optics on their guns and have chosen the green dot, with our sights, that means if they have the green dot, they now have a front sight that's green. If they have
And a
tritium,
green dot.
yeah, and they've
Which
got a
is my
green
dot.
dot.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Sure.
we released the orange sights really as a, hey, if you guys are willing to, ride this ride with us, give us some feedback. What do you think? They did sell. We haven't really heard much from folks on them, but orange does glow very well. Nothing will be green. That's the brightest.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why you see it as sights, and you don't really see other colors for that
There's
reason.
a preference thing, right? You have some, I guess I'm sure others do it, but I think Collison had a gold dot.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
The Type 2-7, the Trigicon RMR, the 07, I believe, is the model on that. That is it's an orange and fiber combination that is like a 6 MOA dot. And folks that know, what type of shotgun I run on a regular basis, that I've had. It's probably about time for that. For that optic to be replaced.
Why can't I see it anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And I chose that to go on that gun because for quite a while we were all running an optic on pistols that really wasn't designed to be on a reciprocating slide.
Yeah.
And so, with the Type 1s going down because they just frankly weren't designed for it, when I had access for that, I was like, oh, great, there's no electronics in this.
Right.
So I'll put it on the concussive platform that is a 1301 back in 2017, and it's doing fine. But
I don't want to bum anybody out, but if you got some kind of tritium optic or sights as an adult, not only if 13 years have passed, it's half as bright, but your optometrist is probably, you have like 3 sets
better
of glasses.
One or two.
Yeah, better one or two. And then you're like, why do I have 3 sets of glasses?
Yeah.
Because I'm just sorry. It's just the way it is.
It is. And I mean, I think
Can't see anymore.
So it's interesting. I know you have some friends and some peers here that have talked about how they prefer iron sights because their eyesight is starting to go. And obviously, like whether you're near or far sighted does come into play. But we found that most folks that have eyesight that's not getting any better prefer dots.
Yeah.
Because it's less. It's less they got to get the readers on and less that they have to see these sights aligned.
Yeah.
It's also the single focal plane, like just having to focus in one place, to get all your sight picture.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting that exists. I mean, this is not the first person I've heard say that. They prefer irons because their eyesight is going.
They're used to that sight picture.
Yeah.
They're maybe okay with the front sight being not perfectly crisp.
Sure.
Like, yeah. It's not perfect. It's a little fuzzy, but I kind of know what that looks like.
Right.
And honestly, we're talking about Chris Serenos, who we're calling out right now. Honestly, if you have very good fundamentals and you're a good shooter, you can kind of get away with some. You can kind of get away with some of that stuff because you have, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of rounds or 1 million rounds downrange. Yeah. You can kind of get away with it.
And there are folks that are out there teaching a target focus with irons. I know. I'm not trying to turn this into the new 9mm reverse 45.
She's just gonna throw that grenade in the room and walk out, huh?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So there are folks that do that. I know some of the folks that teach that. It's not something that I teach. It's but I see them teach it to folks. I see their students become successful with that technique as an option, right? We were sort of chatting before everything, went up and we have the cameras on and the sound on, but we were sort of talking about how there are so many different brains out there learning techniques and learning ways to be efficient and good and judicious with their application of their firearm. But there are a lot of different brains. There are a lot of different eyeballs. There's a lot of different combinations of beings together with these tools. And I think it's nice to know that there are some folks that are exploring different ways to help bring that person's skill set up and maintain it and have it continue to be effective when there are changes with their body as well. Because we're just not, unfortunately, we're not robots like that.
Well, this is what I see. I see people who get into shooting and maybe they get into training and you take your Well, you have a strong opinion about all the things you've seen online. And you read it or seen a video and you're like, this is the way it is. And then they take their first multi-day course and they have super strong opinions about what they learned. Because usually, actually, no matter where you go, if it's your first course, you're like, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That was so
Hair
great.
blown back.
That was so great.
It's always an incredible experience.
And then it's the gospel for a minute. And maybe it was great. And maybe what they taught you was correct. But it's like, this is how you have to run a slide. This is how you grip it. This is how you run the trigger. And then you get locked into that unless you just keep going and you keep talking to more people. And I think, honestly, it takes 10 or 15 or 20 years to have enough of your ideology broken to go, I'll be damned. There are multiple ways to do this.
Yes.
There are multiple ways to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Well, the key is you have to be willing to have your ideology broken, because somebody could learn a thing 20 years ago. And this is the way it's always going to be done. And anything different that contradicts it, even if it's better, it's like, well, that's not the way we do it.
I think I said that on the range because it's like there was a certain way we do certain things, whether it's ARs or pistols or whatever, 15, 20 years ago. Like, this is the way we do it. And it wasn't bad for what it was, but then you have either... Well, we had GWAT, which was part of it.
Yep.
A lot of people training and dedicating a lot of resources and training and bullets down range and in whatever, Bragg or whoever, training things and workshopping things. What works? I don't give a crap about what it looks like. I don't give a crap about what the online experts say. Will it keep me from getting killed?
Yeah, absolutely.
And stopping the bad guy before they kill me, right? So then it's like, we just kind of blow the doors off and they go, hey, this thing is working. This thing is working. We're doing this weird thing with our thumb, but it freaking works.
Yes.
Yeah. And to your point, just even about where that particular theater was, right? So we were dealing with GWAT with being, 20 plus years in an environment that had austere mountain. We had urban. We had so many different ways.
Yeah, it was all over the place. Yeah.
That we had to come up with solutions for things that were effective. And versus, well, we were only in the mountains. We were only in the desert. We had cold, we had hot, we had
that's a good point.
Humidity.
You think about look, I've never been in the military. I didn't get deployed and fight overseas. I also wasn't a NAM. But like NAM was a jungle.
It's NAM.
It was somewhat somewhat homogenous, perhaps.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
The fighting and where you were and that kind of thing. If you're listening to this and you're mad, just call us out. I don't know, man. If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong. I'm not convinced of any of my opinions.
Exactly. And and I think that's genuinely what we're talking about, that there are so many things that have evolved, have changed. And I think that we're sort of also able to exchange information much faster with social media and media in general.
True.
So there's ideas. A lot of much quicker turn times.
It's not a gatekeeper for new ideas. Right. Like there's this one guy in the desert that has all the ideas. Like we can, and people can vet it. They can say, I've tried that and it actually works. It sounds crazy, but it works.
Yeah.
Let's do this. That's after the break. Let's talk about some of these new ideas. You guys are putting it into some of your products, putting dots on guns, changing out your sights, co-witness, lower third, lower fifth, different sights.
Are they going to come back?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's gonna get nerdy.
Hang around. You might learn something. Engineered for precision, performance, and versatility, the Colt Optics Ready 1911 competition pistols are the perfect choice for competitive shooters looking to gain an edge. We're talking about 1911s in either 9mm or 45, and they're cut for optics. I mean, that's like cheating. You get a red dot on top of a Colt 1911. They're versatile. They're great with an optics plate system. Seamless experience for those who want to take their shooting game to the next level. You can learn more over at Colt.com. SnapSafe modular safes are easy to assemble and move anywhere. Simply unpack them piece by piece and assemble them close to your desired location. The SnapSafe modular assembly system locks the walls together from the inside, making them as solid and impenetrable as conventional welded safes. Their 2300-degree fire protection offers peace of mind knowing firearms, jewelry, currency, and valuable documents are protected from fire and theft. Go learn more at snapsafe.com. If you're listening to this show, you probably like guns, but how many classes have you take to make you a better shooter? And that's what we do at Range Ready Studios. Range Ready is a premium firearms training academy in Robert, Louisiana, and it's here at the Gun Talk headquarters. We've got a range out back, actually several ranges. We've got classroom, we've got a shoot house, and we've got some of the best instructors around. And I promise, when people come here, the reviews are 5-star. They love it and they improve on their shooting. You can learn more at rangereadystudios.com, and I'll tell you a trick. Sign up for the email list, because you guys that sign up for the email list are the first to hear about our new classes, and they sell out quick. All right, we're going to start this off with, if you're listening to this, you are free to do whatever the heck you want to do.
Yeah, of course.
All right? But we're not saying this is the way.
A way, not the way.
It is a way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are putting red dot optics on pistols.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you're listening. Yes. Okay. But in general, most people still have iron sights on the gun as a secondary option, a backup option. Everybody still with us?
Still plenty of
I
irons
think
out there.
so,
Still,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we used to have is, well, I'm sure people listening to this are either way in the gun nerd world like we are, or they're like, I'm thinking about putting a dot on my gun because this new gun has this plate system thing that I can unscrew and screw on a optic. Yeah. Cool. What we used to do, guys, if you don't know, is when you put a dot on your gun, you could no longer see the iron sights because the regular iron sights were low. They needed to be taller to even use them while you're looking through the window of the optic. And then what did we do, Rachel?
Yeah, then there was then the MOS system came about on Glock and or any number of things that allowed like core systems, like the cuts and the aspects
cuts
of how deep or how further down or how high on top the top strap did start to kind of come into play, because you had folks who were getting their guns milled, aka cut, for a particular
to be able
optic.
to mount it. Yeah, because I guess you're right. You went even back because I wasn't thinking that. I'm thinking of like people starting to throw dots on guns that are accepting dots. But yeah, I mean, there used to be some crazy chassis system things to put dots on guns.
Yeah,
but if we
narrow that to what you're highlighting,
but if you just say you put a dot on a gun because you can do that. The sights, you could not see them because they were too low.
You had no choice but to grab what used to be the only tall sights in existence, which was suppressor height sights.
We used to call them suppressor height sights. You put a suppressor on a pistol. You also can't see the sight through the suppressor because it's a big fat can on the end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just like, okay, we called them suppressor height sights, which is kind of funny now I'm thinking about it. Like, that's what we called them, but what we just meant was extra tall.
Yeah. Right. And because they had to supersede the diameter of whatever that
actually be able to use them
was. Yeah, to be able to still aim the gun with a suppressor on it.
And I may be a little behind, but when we started talking about, okay, we have different height sights, and I'm thinking, right, like suppressor height sights. And you're like, no, like,
no, they're all different.
We have third?
So
a fifth?
Yeah.
So if you guys listening, think about a kind of a standard red dot. When we look through it, it's either a square or a circle-y kind of thing, or sort of a rectangle-y window that you're looking through. And you can see the sights through that window. If you turned off the dot and you said, oh, I'm just going to use the sights, you could do that. Suppressor height sights, in general, come up into the middle of the window.
A lot of times it's dependent on the depth of the cut.
I mean, it all depends. There's a lot of depends with this, right?
And it also, you could have a very, very small battery deck, which is the tail end of the optic that's going towards the shooter, right? So that's what I mean by that, because I want to be clear. Sometimes I'll start to talk about different bits and bobs of the actual optic housing. But the battery deck is really what we are often most focused on as far as what we're trying to get above. We're simply just trying to reach up top so that we can have the ears and the round of tritium. If there's tritium in the sight blade, we want for that to show above the battery deck, but just no further.
Just
not to reach any further into the window. That would be a lower 1/3.
Kind of, and this is what we're talking about, like new ideas in the world of shooting, because so many people are shooting red dots on pistols. We've started thinking about this. We're like,
yeah, we can do better.
I don't like how I'm still seeing all this iron sight in my window. I don't need all that because my primary sight is still the red dot. These sights are just here in case I need them.
Correct.
And so you went, wait a minute, we can go lower. And like, I guess we're kind of saying, again, you do whatever the heck you want to do if you're listening to this. But what we're kind of saying is probably best practices and the preferences of a lot of shooters is for those sights to just kind of barely be in that lower part of the window.
Yeah, that's the lower 1/3. And to also be clear, there were quite a few optics that were growing in window size that they were designed during the time where folks were like, well, I need more window. I need more window. I need more window. And then you're looking at the sight picture and like half of that window is being taken up by a black steel sight body. And, then folks started to say, all right, well, my problem is solved. I'll eliminate sights. And then I won't really have to worry about that. And I still get my generous window. Any number of the large window, the XL window, the SRO is probably the most well-known as one of the largest windows for a product that's been out there for quite a while, the Tritium SRO.
Is running a gun with just a dot and no sights kind of like the BMXers that would just take the brakes off the bike when they're...
It's
just like, dude...
going for it.
Yeah, okay, I'm just going to go for it.
And for folks that do still do that now, I mean, it's primarily like when we're talking about competition world, we're talking about carry optics, and it makes a ton of sense because
it's a game.
Mean, if your optic goes down in a stage, we're talking about like you've got X amount of more targets and X amount of more seconds to go, and then you can address the problem, right? So, I mean, obviously, no one wants to be down that stage, but, the reality is that there are probably, one could argue that's a much more controlled environment than if one was fighting for their life, and it was a very dynamic situation that one doesn't have direct control over. So when we talk about why it's still important for you to have a backup sighting system, it's really wrapped around when you're not standing and you don't have perfect light and you've got a normal heart rate and everything's working out really like your whole body is on a uninjured this perfect world situation does give you an opportunity to just kind of what we were talking about, like that normal presentation that you got used to at the beginning of the conversation, right? Like I know what my sight alignment is. I know what my presentation is. I know what that natural point of aim is every single time. Well, that's fine, but we're not really talking about the beautiful range environment.
It reminds me of what I think it was Clint Smith. He's the first one I heard say it. He said, when you imagine your gunfight, you imagine everything going right. You draw, you press the trigger, two go in center mass, bad guy goes down, cops show up, they give you a high five and pin a medal on you. He goes, when I imagine my gunfight, I wake up and I'm hearing gunfire and my gun malfunctions and I slip on the dog and all these things, right? So like planning for worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to get this in here because, Sean, you have a different way, and I didn't really get to look at it. You said there's another way of running this.
Right.
Which is not the dot. Okay, for listeners. So you present the gun. The dot is kind of mounted right in front of your rear sight, but you actually mount your rear sight in front of the dot?
Yeah. Combat cut, I think, is the term.
Yeah, that's the current nom de guerre.
Sure.
I can't, everybody kind of comes up with a different name for it. But
so what I've been doing is I have my front and rear sights in front of, let's say front and rear. The front sight's in the same place, but the optic is actually cut to the very back of the slide.
Wow.
And the rear sight will sit just in front of that. So that way I still have the full presentation of the window. So I have the same sight picture with the dot and everything, but I have all of the iron sight picture, and it's similar to, for competition guys or people who do this, occluded shooting, where you cover the front window to make your eyes focus on the target. You still see a dot, you still see a target, but those images merge in your eyes and in your head. Similar in that the sights are in front of the window, so you are not occluding your dot at all. You have a full sight picture, but now you have a little more leadway as to what kind of co-witness you want to play with. Like, let's say, I want to go like a 1/3, but maybe a heavier 1/3. You can have a bigger, chunkier sight on your gun, still not occlude your window, and yet still be able to see all of the bits of the tritium on your front and rear sight.
The rear sight's not blocking the dot in any way. You couldn't. You couldn't.
That's right.
So you're always going to see the dot. It's an interesting, I haven't heard of that. And is that generally... Do you generally have to, is someone actually doing that, or you have to take your slide and have it milled specifically for that?
So as far as I know, there are no OEMs that are doing that out of the factory. I may be wrong. Again, if you want to start banging away on your keyboard and tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. But I know there's a bunch of aftermarket people that are doing combat cut right off the bat, where you get the rear dovetail in front of the optic mounting, so you can throw whatever sights and whatever.
It's interesting. You have to look it up, guys. Combat cut, because that's something I was a little behind. I was going, Okay, I see how that could work. I'd have to try that out.
I think some manufacturers call it irons forward.
Yeah, that's another. And this is what I mean by like nom de guerre. It's whatever snazzy line they want to deliver there. I have a pistol that has that set up with an aim point, right? So I've got the mailbox on there. I've got the rear sight in front of it. This is like super minor, has nothing to do with application, but it's like keeping the pistol optic a little bit further back. If I'm feeding my gun a little bit at lunchtime and I'm adding a little bit of go juice to it, it gets a little less splatter on the optic that way because it's stepped back a little bit further away from the ejection port. Again, not like a fighting thing, like that's just a like all day shooting, a lot of training classes. That's always like not the end of the world.
You've moved the optic away from the ejection port a little bit,
away,
so you have it may not get as dirty.
Right. Also, because you've put this nicely milled rear sight in front of it, so those one-handed manipulations that you might do, like racking off a belt or racking off of something else, now you have the iron sight in front of it to take the brunt of that, if you were kind of concerned about your optic.
All right. Well, welcome to Tactical Nerd World, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, this will be the second. We warned you. And they came back after the break.
I know, it's your fault. You're still here listening. Okay, well, that's really cool. That's interesting. You guys also do a lot of training and teach classes. Yes, so we're going to talk a little bit about that right after this break. The Tokarev TT Pro is a high-performance AR-style semi-automatic shotgun designed for tactical use, competition, and home defense. It features a high-capacity magazine, lightweight aluminum handguard, M-lock, pick rails, and modular aluminum receiver for durability and customization, ambi controls, Cerakote finish, and a reversible charging handle. AR-compatible stock and grip enhance versatility. Gas-operated action ensures smooth cycling, while the quick disassembly design makes maintenance effortless. This is a very cool semi-auto shotgun, mag-fed, and you won't believe the value. Go check it out at tokarevusa.com. Want to hear about the latest and greatest in the world of guns? Well, 17 seasons of Guns and Gear, and we are back with another one. You can watch it live on Wednesday nights on the Outdoor Channel, or tune in on all the Gun Talk online channels to see what we're up to. Guns, optics, ammo, we test it all, we interview experts, and we showcase it to you. The latest and the greatest, a new season of Guns and Gear out now. You've probably heard about the Ruger RXM pistol. It's the result of a collaboration between Ruger and Magpul. American-made handgun, stands out with a variety of upgraded features, including direct mount optic cut slide. So you can put an RMR, Delta Point Pro, RMSC cuts with co-witness height sights. It also has their fire control insert. It's a removable stainless steel insert. That's the serialized part of the gun, which enables you to customize using Magpul enhanced grip handgun grips. And so they have different colors, different sizes. You can really customize it. It's Gen 3 compatible, so it works with magazines that you may already own. And we've tested it. We shot it a lot, and we like it. You can learn more about the Ruger RXM over at Ruger.com. All right, so guys, you in addition to working for Night Fision, you also run a training company. What's it called?
It's called the On-Site Firearms Training.
Up in New York?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so I should say we're based in New York, but we teach all over. So right now, my husband was in Massachusetts last night, and then we're going to, we have classes in New Hampshire. We've got classes in Maine. We've got classes in Virginia, Florida.
But people, I mean, people do travel for classes, but I think that a lot of people are like, is there a class near me? We hear that all the time. I'm sure you hear that. Looking for a class near me.
Sure.
And so if you're in the Northeast, if you're in that New York area, I mean, look them up. On
people do shoot guns in New York.
Yeah, they do let us. They let us sometimes.
10 rounds at a time.
Yeah, 10 rounds at a time. No, I mean, we'd love to, continue to do everything we can possibly do to help folks get access to develop their skill set. That's our job. And we found for, one of the core reasons why the company came about, there just wasn't a lot of it. There was an incredible instructor that we learned a lot from that happened to be in New York. His name is Chris Fry. He's still somebody who is actively involved in the training community. He's heavily involved with a company called Progressive Force Concepts. Highly recommend if you have the opportunity to go train with those folks, and specifically with Chris, you absolutely do. He's an incredible instructor, pistol, shotgun, right, all of it.
Cool.
But it was one of those moments where we were like, why is there just, one other person? So that was a big aspect of like, let's fill a gap so that people are not simply staying static, going to the range, shooting a still target, and then walking away with maybe a not accurate sense of self and skill set, which could potentially put them in a really tough position.
Yeah.
And that's a core tenet of who we are as people. And, I try and bring all of that to everything I do, including what we do at Night Fision, which is why, it's so important for us to let people know that, this is really just truly about making sure that people are set up for success, so that they get to walk away. They get to hug their kids and their family on the other side of some really intense event.
People on this show who listen to this show, they've heard me talk about the need for training. They've heard me say, look, I'm not trying to be self-serving because we've run some classes, because we actually don't run that many. You just go get some training.
Yeah.
There's so many people who own guns. There's so many people who like to shoot guns who have never done a training class, meaning like, and I always say, like, what do you mean by that? I don't mean necessarily a concealed carry class. I mean something where it's probably a couple days and they teach you how to shoot fast and accurately under a little bit of stress. How do you explain to someone who's never been to a training class, like, what are they going to get at it? Why should they maybe do this? Because they go, oh, I go shoot at the range I go shoot, I shoot guns.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
I mean, how do you describe it? I mean, I have my ways of describing it, but I'm just curious how you address it.
I mean, one of the things that I try and emphasize is that you get into a car and you drive a car every single day. So the idea of getting driving lessons and thinking about that on its face for most folks is like, why? I already know how to drive. But the reality is what is being taught is essentially going to give you the ability to get out of a problem, to be able to be defensive driving, like all of the more intensive things that you might see and say to yourself, oh, that's a stunt driver. But you have the capacity to be able to execute. You just need the access, the training, someone who has the knowledge to be able to translate that to you, not just show you, but actually physically teach you to be able to perform that task and give you a way to practice and develop that skill set. With firearms, it's akin to that in many ways. I say that because most folks will show up saying, and not necessarily offering resistance, but to the why, they'll say, well, I go to the range. I do shoot the gun. And, sometimes to put kind of a fine point on it, we're on the other side of the fence. Like, you can function the gun the same way that you can turn a car on.
You hit the berm.
And, and there are also folks who just simply carry and don't really shoot. And that's this. I use the car thing because it's probably the most diplomatic way of articulating this, is that most folks do have cars or have had some experience with vehicles. And if you have simply carried a gun for 30 years and you have not shot it, and you do not regularly maintain your skill set, that's like saying I can drive really well because I've got a car parked in my driveway for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And this is where...
Think about, have you ever been where you didn't drive a car for like a week or two?
Mm-hmm.
You went on a trip or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you get in the car and it's like almost just wait a minute, what am I doing here? Okay.
Just a little twinge.
Oh, yeah. This is how this works again. Okay. And also has nothing to do with guns, but isn't it wild? I don't know how it works in New York, but isn't it wild how I got my driver's license on my 15th birthday, and I've never taken a driving test since then.
Yeah. I did the class.
Isn't that wild?
I don't need to do it again.
Look,
exactly.
Don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
I'm a freedom guy. I don't like asking the government for permission for anything.
Sure.
However, it's just kind of wild. Like, you just go
that's
get
why.
Go get in that car and go, man.
That's
okay.
why. And I think there are plenty of driving instructors out there who are like, but you could be so much better if you just came and got some education on something that you think you already know all about. And to your point before, like, it is a lot of fun, and we have said this to people.
Yeah, it's fun too.
Has it ever been, that it's a drag that you've come out of class? Like,
absolutely
man,
not.
this was a big, why was I even here? That's never happened.
No, of course not.
One of our approaches is, I think a lot of schools do this, perhaps not all of them, but one of our things is like, this is supposed to be fun. Yes, we're training. It's a serious subject, but you didn't sign up for the Army.
Yeah,
we're not yelling at you.
Well,
I'm not a drill sergeant, and you're not having to qual. Like, these are all civilians for the most part. And I have a question, though, for each one of you.
Sure.
A 2-day pistol class. You guys run 2-day pistol classes? Okay. What would you say the average percentage improvement is after 2 days?
I think that number is kind of all over the place because it's going to vary greatly from the student basis. Because
sure.
Being that way, just a fun little observation with that, being that we travel all over the country, I have found that on the average, restrictive state students, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, they seem to be a little more dedicated. They fight harder to get to classes because it's such a privilege because of the way the states are, versus if you go to freer states, people tend to be a little more relaxed. It's like, oh yeah, we can go to the range.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's no, it's just not restrictive.
How much? But at the end of 2 days,
But I would say
it's one of the most rewarding things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there's going to be people who either don't take instruction well,
Of course.
or they start out super nervous and scared of the gun, and they have a hard time making as much progress as they could because they're just overcoming that. Yeah. But they make progress. But what would you think? I mean, I don't know. From what most people after 2 days,
you will usually see draw speeds with like large chunks of seconds off if they're like a 3 or 4 second draw at the very beginning, which is very, very slow. It's okay if you start. First of all, one thing I just want to say, you do not need to train to come into a training course. You just need to be safe. Okay, it's like I need to go to the gym before I go to the gym. Don't do that. It's okay to show up without a skill set. We just need you to show up safe. But we usually see for somebody who's in like a 3-second draw stroke, by the time like day 2, they're closing in on like 1.8. You know what I mean?
So
like
30 to 40%.
Yeah, and I don't even like to put percentages into it because
that's why I'm coming up with numbers.
We can't do math real good, but I can say that there's 3 big things like draw speed, group size,
without question,
and
group
the big
size.
thing that, like, I don't want to say the lower tier of students because that's kind of rude, but for the students who are like still trying to figure stuff out, getting them away from like their flinch response and like their fear of when I do this, the loud noise happens.
Well, also, do you guys run a hot range?
Yes.
Okay, so another thing is most places
Gun
I've
handling.
been.
Oh
is
yeah,
just-
I can go on
after
a
2
2-hour rant
days,
for this.
right? After 2 days, and hopefully you keep going. It's not just the one class you do.
Don't
but,
check the box and be done, please. It's a journey.
But talk about like, man, I saw this in my wife, and now she's done a bunch of classes. But just picking up a handgun, mag in, rack the slide, checked it, or unload, mag out, rack the slide, look inside the chamber, just completely comfortable.
Yes.
The gun, that's such a benefit, even if you're not a tactical ninja.
No, you don't need to be.
You could be like, well, I want to be proficient and comfortable with
yes.
it. You're going to be proficient and comfortable with it at that point. You've run the gun so much.
With what you were saying before about what Clint Smith was saying regarding his gunfight, right? So he's talking about all these things that are going to go wrong. And you will hear this echoed in the same core tenet in many different ways, which is that the gun handling has to be there.
Yes.
If you cannot clear that gun, if you cannot reload that gun, if you do not understand when that gun is loaded and when that gun is not loaded, why you might need to make a choice about replenishing ammunition and when that is done. Those are all, they don't have anything to do with all of the shooting fundamentals, but they absolutely have to do with can you solve the actual physical gun problems so that you can get it back in action, because you've got processing that has to be devoted to solving a shooting problem, right? Like, so this is going to be a threat. It is going to be moving. It is going to be a thinking thing that is trying to do you harm. You have to solve that problem plus environment. We were walking through your cool side of the house where you have all of this structure. There's beds indoors. We were walking through the shoot house side, and there is a host and myriad of decisions that have to be made to just even be able to understand angles, right? And I'm not talking about clearing homes. I'm just saying, as civilians, we have a bedroom and there's going to be walls. There has to be decisions about cover, concealment. All of this stuff is going on. And if you have a malfunction on a pistol and you cannot get that gun back up, it's all for naught. You have a tomahawk, right? So there are aspects of just getting those familiarizations under control, to your point about that level that your wife got to with, okay, well, I can lock the slide back. I can take a quick look in. I understand when this gun is loaded, when it's not. I understand which mags go with which gun and which way round they have to go. Yeah. How to reload the mag. Gun.
Sure.
Yeah, loading them. Yeah. So all of those things are the non-sexy skills that people, they come to class and they're like, I want to shoot faster. I want to shoot better.
Yeah.
But their
good.
ability to it's not a bad goal.
It's like cart before the horse kind of thing.
Yeah,
well, it's like
we find the gun handling skills are often a big impasse because they're so stressed about figuring out how to get that reload completed.
Yeah.
And then they leave everything on the table as far as all the rest of the actual shooting fundamentals.
Yeah.
And it's just because they're overwhelmed.
And people might say, like, well, why you say that concealed carry class is not training? It was training. I spent a whole day in class and they taught me stuff. I'm like, I'm going to tell you why. Because what we're talking about is winning a gunfight. Okay? Concealed carry class teaches you this is a revolver. It has a cylinder and it turns when you pull the trigger. Like, this is literally a PowerPoint.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sitting next to a woman who she's like, okay. And he's like, okay, everybody, let's bring the guns out. Show me what guns you brought today. And it's in a box. And I swear to you, I don't think she'd opened the box before.
Oh, the tape was still sealed
she's
and
like,
she broke it open.
And she's like, okay. And she kind of opens it and she's like looking at it like, like it's some kind of strange being. And she's like, I'm not really sure what to do here. And I was like, here, let me show you a little bit. Like, I'm trying not to be like the guy in class. It's like, I know how this works. But I mean, she didn't know. They had to show her how to load the gun. Yeah. They had to show her how to shoot the gun. I think she probably passed. And she got her concealed carry. And hey, freedom reigns. You shouldn't have to have a state permission slip to exercise a right. However, I mean, I'm in the New Orleans area. Do you think that she's like going to prevail when a couple dudes walk up to mug her?
Yeah. If you don't, this is a really, really tough situation, right? That is very common, and it is like hard to figure out what is the right path forward. If we knew it, that then it would be solved. But the idea that person is not going to be overcome should they have a malfunction, is pretty narrow. It's a slim chance.
Rachel, you're
right?
getting ahead of yourself.
So-
We're talking about malfunctions
Yeah.
and reloads.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
that's-
even worried about that.
Yeah. Well, no.
Like
and
literally,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
literally, most people
there is a problem.
don't even need to carry an
Yeah.
extra mag because you will never get there. It's gonna be
not
a fumble.
for the ammo.
Right,
It's
right.
for
Can you draw
problems.
and shoot and hit the target?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that I get on people all the time about. It's like, oh, people are going, oh, like, why do I need training? I go to the range all the time. You will not rise to the occasion. You will default to the level of training that you've mastered. And if all you've ever mastered is just standing nice and calm in a booth and like picking your gun up very casually and unsuredly and putting some holes in paper.
We're hanging out. I got 30 minutes on this lane.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do they do with no pressure? They do all their gun handling without any pressure.
That's
They
true.
might
That's
like
Very
they
casually
might wanna,
and
yeah,
analytically.
very-
it's
or
like,
it's very awkward, or they're very table dependent when they're doing anything other than shooting. And people like, if you have a good crew to go out to the range with, which is awesome. You know what I mean? It's always cool to have friends to go shoot with that helps you stay accountable and consistently shooting. And if you have friends that, want to talk about what you're doing, want to be in the background, messing with you as far as like, oh, you can't hit that. And people will have these little moments where they'll put themselves under pressure when they're pressing a trigger. But no one's asking them to perform any of those gun handling skills without a table,
Look,
on the move,
a lot of
in the dark.
I don't know if it's changed, but a lot of law enforcement in the past was when you're doing calls and you have a malfunction, make sure you raise your hand,
yeah.
and we will come and address that.
Yeah.
And I have a buddy who was a cop, and they were in a shooting, and one of the other cops had a malfunction, and she raised her hand,
Yeah.
Wow.
like literally
Like
in the middle of a gunfight.
just like
replicating it.
what the heck?
Yeah.
Let me stare at the gun, start to raise
Yeah.
your hand. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. And that is a good example of what Sean is talking about. You will absolutely just default to what your body has the highest reps on. I mean, another, this is an arguable case, but one of the folks that was shot dead in Jack Wilson's shooting, that one of the security guards stood up. And there's no quote unquote law against shooting from seated.
We'll get there. That's okay.
We'll get there, right? I got to start training speaking, apparently. But there is no law against shooting from a seated position. But this was arguably a case where someone who'd only shot from a standing position
How many people
responded
have
under
shot
stress.
while sitting?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that this is I don't know, super important tactically, but like, it's kind of such a simple.
It is. And
It's a simple
this
thing.
is what people don't realize.
And we've put
that,
people through some training
Yeah.
on our shows and first person offender. It's like, okay, we're going to sit you in a chair.
and it's like
It's like,
mind-blowing.
it's mind blowing.
And people don't do that, but at the same time, how often are we in a car driving?
Yeah.
Are you not seated? So
Yeah.
you should have a little bit of familiarity
And
there.
everybody's like, I want to take a vehicle course. And it's like, well, I don't really think you need to learn felony stop if you're like a sysadmin for a bank.
Yeah.
But
You're the IT guy at work.
seated shooting might be something that you want to gain some level of access to. And guys, you can do all this dry. You don't have to have ammunition.
Don't
You
bring
can
a chair
do-
into your local indoor range. They're probably going to be mad at you. You're going to get kicked out.
And then alternatively, it's gonna be a little awkward if you start shooting in your own home. So make sure you clear that gun. But the
Yep.
reality is, like, all of this stuff that we're really talking about as difference makers, and this is data that's known. This is not just coming from Sean and I thinking about this really hard.
We
this
didn't
is-
dream this up in the Atlanta airport yesterday.
yeah. But the reality is that all of this stuff really does come down to you do need to do something beyond just casual shooting if you're going to take this as a serious self-defense tool, and gun handling is a big aspect of it. Again, rounding it out, it is a lot of fun. It is a very good time. No one's slogging through this kind of training and really pushing themselves. and you have access to it. I think that's the other side of this coin, is that a lot of people will write themselves off. Oh, that person's really super fit or super young, or they have a law enforcement or military background.
Right.
They'll write all of these excuses.
What, I'm going to be a ninja? Am I like SEAL Team 6? Why do I have to do all that?
Yeah.
It's fun.
No, yeah. And there are any number of effective shooters, of net positive contributors to self-defensive scenarios that are not tip of the spear, CrossFit Games competitors. They're just regular folks. In fact, some of these really effective shooters happen to be retired folks because they have the time to spend on their skill set.
Yeah.
So, that's the other side of it. Don't write yourself off. You don't have to be a certain way. You just have to have access to these places and be willing to learn.
We had a class last year, and full class. One of the guys there, super nice guy, goes out. We start doing our thing, and we're like, man, really good shooter. Like, you shoot competitions or whatever. He's like, no. Like, well, how did you?
Just does
he's
this,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch some stuff online, and usually I would say, don't watch stuff online.
Don't.
But he was what Chris would say. He's a 1%er. He's like a guy who's like,
he can
okay, I just do that.
And do
it.
Yeah.
You show him, and he goes, okay, I'll do that, and then he just does it, and you're going, bro, like how?
Wow. Very cool.
He's like, I just go to the range sometimes, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like clicks, and he's probably like you, Sean. He's probably got the bug now, and it's going,
yeah.
Oh man,
This is going to be.
This is something that's fun. I'm kind of good at it. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we browbeat you guys into doing some training.
Please go get training. Doesn't have to be from us, but go get training.
Yeah, it's fun. I promise. And it'll give you a reason to test out your new red dot and your new sights.
That's right.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That there is, and real fast, like there are a lot of very interesting ways to overcome a lot of problems. And I think also to shaking your gear out and having it like break or just make those discoveries in a controlled environment is the preferred way.
It's a
to learn that stuff.
Great
rather
test
than
of all
in the
your
moment.
gear and setup is running 500 to 1,000 rounds in a few days.
Absolutely.
That's great. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for
Been
having
fun.
us.
All right. You guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.